Joining us here for a chat on hops and spirits, he's the president and CEO of Coppa Cocktails USA. Please welcome in José Chao. José, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Jonathan. Nice to see you.
Well, I appreciate the time. And, you know, as we'll get into this, the ready-to-drink cocktail market is exploding, and you guys have been around, at least Coppa Cocktails, for a while, but maybe not in the U.S., and we'll get to that also in a second. But can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I always call this part the Cliff Notes version, because I know some people can spend a good 15, 20 minutes telling everything. So the Cliff Notes version of you and your career.
Sure. Born in Cuba. Grandfather was in the rum business, in fact. He was one of the coopers at the rum factory there in Cuba. We migrated to the U.S. in '67. I was just a little boy and went through college and wound up in the wine and spirits business with Bacardi. Wound up having a great career with Bacardi, opened up Asia Pacific, worked in the international arena for a number of years, had a global duty free, and then I started my own consulting company and did that for a few years. And I got recruited back into the industry with a startup tequila brand called Blue Nectar Tequila. Went on from there, got recruited again to head up the commercial aspect of Marie Brizard Wine and Spirits. Their major brand was Sobieski Vodka and Marie Brizard cordials. So I did that for a number of years, and then this opportunity popped. And really, it was almost unexpected. So I had a chat with a friend of mine in Amsterdam, of all places. I was just reconnecting with him to see what he was doing. And he told me he was working on this project that was exciting for him and for the company. And I asked him a simple question. So what are you doing in the US? He goes, nothing yet. I go, well. And then he went on to ask me, he goes, are you available? And I said, possibly. And this was right in the middle of the pandemic, in fact. And so make a long story short, we went back and forth. I developed a quick overview of the marketplace and the opportunities that this kind of a product would have. And at the time, really, it was just starting to really explode. It was the early part. And so I started consulting with the owners of the company. And about a year later, things happened. And they said, well, we want you to run the Americas for us. And I guess my background, I started with Bacardi in the US, so I know the US market very well. The challenges of the US market are unlike most other markets in that we have a three-tier system that we go through. The Europeans are not used to a three-tier system at all. They're used to having one country, and we have 50 countries because each state has its own set of rules and regulations, and you have to know how to navigate through all that. So I was able to help them curtail their startup period and really try to get into the market as quickly as we could. And we did. So
well, and you mentioned it was a conversation that kind of led you at least to explore, you know, working with Coppa Cocktails. But what really drew you in? I mean, was it that, in a sense, it sounds like you've done a lot in your career, that challenge of launching something in the U.S. where some of the other ones may not have always been that way? You know, I mean, what drew you and what made you want to work with them?
Well, it was a beautifully designed brand to begin with. And the more that I spoke to them, the more they had really worked on the overall marketing of the brand. So the brand had been launched years ago, but in a complete different package with a different formulation. And the new owners of the company who came on board about 4 or 5 years ago decided to repackage it and reformulate. And the new packaging was really driven by a vision by one of the owners, Natal de Grassa. And Natal had a vision to create a special liquid targeting female consumers in a beautifully designed bottle that looks just like a shaker, and it would not in any way send a different message of what it is. It looks like a shaker, so therefore what goes into a shaker, a cocktail. And what kind of cocktails go into shakers? Well, all kinds of proven world-class cocktails. And so I love the overall nature of the iconography. I love the thinking. I love the vision. And I thought, for a small little company, they have basically checked all the boxes required for a market entry and for a product launch. So that really was appealing to me.
Well, and as you mentioned, they're a Dutch company. They're European based for their majority of their existence. Why did they want to come to the US? Obviously, because it's a market. I know the cocktail industry is kind of the ready to drink cocktail industry is expanding, but at the end of the day, it's one that, like you said, it's got a lot of layers, 50 plus individual states to navigate through in terms of alcohol laws and so forth. So why did they feel that the US was next on the horizon for them?
Well, it's a really easy answer. The US is the #1 consumer market in the world. Brands are made in the US market largely. There are some exceptions. The UK market does a good job of launching sometimes new trends and new brands, but the US is where everyone wants to play. This is the jewel, and this is where the volumes really hit home. And if you can expand into the US and do it well, you'll have a very successful brand, and more importantly, generate the profitability required to truly invest back into the brand in all markets. Because most markets around the world, especially the international markets, the emerging markets, they look to see what the US is trending, what the US is doing, what the brands are that are really hot in the US. And that really facilitates even more expansion into the rest of the world. So the US is really a critical market for most major consumer good products. And certainly in the beverage industry, we must be in the US.
Well, and as you touched on it, the packaging I feel like stands out a lot. It's not a slim can. It's not just a regular can. It is, like you said, it is a shaker. It's got some weight to it. I mean, it's a beautiful looking package. I mean, why this type of packaging and not kind of what you see with a lot of the other ones? Like I said, the slim cans and so forth.
Right. Well, yeah, I agree with you. And I understand the question. It's interesting because in a competitive market like the US, you must be able to differentiate your product from all others. So you can dress up a can 50 different ways. It's still a can.
Mhm.
In this instance, this is a glass bottle shaped like a shaker. So immediately it connotes that #1, it's glass, it's not plastic, so it's a premium type product. The iconography of the brand, the flowers, the birds, the different elements that makes up our bottle and our brand are consistent with the imagery associated with Holland and the flowers and the naturalness. And being a natural product, it really lends itself perfectly to a point of differentiation versus all others. And it really has an enormous appeal to the female consumer. So when you look at the overall delivery of the product, even without tasting it yet, but you see it on the shelf, it really is attractive enough to warrant someone to pick it up and look at it and realize, oh my God, this is a ready to drink, and all I need to do is just add ice. So it combined the elements of premium image, premium product, naturalness, provenance from Holland, all packaged up in a simple package. It's totally different than what the industry is seeing today.
And I was going to say that, basically it is just add ice. It's ready to go, which I mean, I know that's what a ready to drink cocktail should be too, but a lot of them, like you said, they're in that can, but they're already ready to go in a sense of you don't do anything. Maybe you throw them in the fridge. Why also just kind of make it so that it's just add a little bit of ice and you're good to go? Is that just another convenience factor and kind of to set yourself apart in the market as well?
Absolutely. Convenience is the #1 purchase driver for the category. Is convenience, right? In our case, our liquid has been developed in conjunction with leading mixologists of Holland in itself. So, Holland has been around making flavorful drinks and flavorings for years, if not, I'm talking about 100 years. It's been known as the flavoring country. where the best flavors come from. So when we embarked in developing the line of ready to drinks, hence we moved right into a natural environment with natural ingredients, with an extension of a bartender, and we put the bartender in the bottle. So in reality, we're delivering a quality drink as if you had a bartender in your kitchen or in your picnic or in your party. So a lot of people tend to not only just add ice, but sometimes they add their own garnishes just to make it their own. They personalize it by putting a slice of pineapple on top of the pina colada, for instance. Some other people buy some mint and they add the mint to the mojito to create that appearance that this was really custom made by me, the perfect serve, if you may. So it's
I was
kind
gonna
of
say, yeah, I love that too, because if you want to, you can make it seem as though it was yours and just hide the evidence in the back. And I also think too, beyond the packaging and so forth, what stands out to me a lot is on a lot of things like this, you'll see 5-6%, maybe a little bit lower, maybe a smidge higher in terms of the alcohol by volume. But you guys pack a little bit of a punch, so to speak, in this kind of genre of drinks. Why the 15%? What was that? Is that just so it really does feel like you're getting a cocktail out at the bar or wherever you're having a drink?
Absolutely. We wanted to deliver that bartender experience at home. And 15%, when you first order a drink at a bar, the dilution after you add the vodka or you add the rum or the gin or the whiskey, the dilution factor brings the drink down to about 15%, despite the fact that most of these core ingredients, the core alcohol in many of these drinks is at 80 proof or 40% alcohol by volume. So in our case, it really brings home the story of quality as if the bartender was with you, making it, shaking it, and then just pouring it. And really was the impetus for the 15% ABV. We do have lower ABV in Europe and other markets, but that's more due to taxation than it is for anything else, because we need to make sure that the product is affordable in all markets. So the United States, not being a high jurisdiction as far as taxation is concerned, we're able to provide really a top-notch quality drink at an affordable price.
And we'll touch on the availability and price, but you've talked a little bit. We've got the mojito, we've got the, as you showed off, and as I have here, the pina colada. What other are the kind of core cocktails, and are there others that come available as time or the season changes?
Oh, sure. We have a total of about 15 to 18, almost 18 now products that are ready to go. In the United States, we're carrying about 12. Some of them include, for example, you got to have a margarita in the United States. The margarita has become the #1 selling cocktail in the US for certain, and expanding into other markets. We have a tequila sunrise that I have here in my hand, which is just outstanding. It's absolutely delicious. We have strawberry daiquiri. We have the Long Island iced tea, which has seen a resurgence in the United States. That's unbelievable up and down the West Coast. I'm in Chicago right now. People are ordering Long Island iced teas in Chicago. We have Sex on the Beach, which we know everybody likes, and that's a drink that's really coming back. It's a new generation. They've never heard of the drink Sex on the Beach, so we're introducing popular, established drinks to a whole new consumer base, and that's exciting, and they're fun, and it's all about celebration of life. So when you think about, when people come together, what do they want to do? They want to relax. They want to really enjoy the friendship. They want to enjoy the outdoors. They want to just enjoy life, and that's what we're all about. It's being there for them in the celebration of those small moments that everybody wants to share with their friends and family.
And you make it a lot easier by not having to carry around rum and mixers and everything else. It's all together. And I feel like obviously that's why the ready to drink category has exploded over these last few years, along with just the pandemic. I think, forcing things to move a little faster than they maybe would have. But what have you seen with that through your career lens of this ready to drink explosion and just so many new things coming along? And where do you see it going?
Yeah, well, the evolution of wine and spirits is really based on consumer trends. We look at trends much more than we look at fads. So a fad comes and goes very, very quickly. Products that are faddish have a very short life cycle, and a lot of those are gimmicky. The RTD category, especially the spirit-based RTDs, are not gimmicky. These are the real McCoys. For example, each of our products is made with either vodka, gin, whiskey, or rum or tequila. So our whiskey, for example, when we make a whiskey sour, we make sure that the bourbon that is used in our whiskey sour comes from Kentucky. And our rum comes from the Caribbean. And our vodka, we buy high quality vodka from in Europe. So every single one of the products that we launch that has a core ingredient that is either gin or vodka or what I just defined, they're all high quality products. And people want quality. People want things that allows them to feel good about what they're drinking. So in our case, we are 100% behind the quality ingredients. We are 100% about understanding the consumer and giving them what they need and want. And I think that the trends are such that having sustainability positioning, we're working very, very hard at reducing our carbon footprint in our factory in Holland. And as you know, many of those countries really are ahead of the US when it comes to reducing energy costs and going solar or using, more of the new type of energies, right? And they're all over it. I mean, you go to Holland, and how many windmills do you see out there? You see a lot. So in essence, we are being true to what our consumers want. And when you're true to what the consumers want and need, it no longer is a fad. It's a long-term proposition that they're looking for. In addition to that, people are working harder than ever. So when the time comes to disconnect, to shut it down a little bit, and to come together with their friends, they want products near them or with them that they can trust and that have a badge value to represent what their values are. And that's why we spend so much time and effort and money to reinforce the core values of our brand. So that's the difference between a fad and a trend. And we're on the trend side. We see growth in the RTD convenience sector for the next 6 or 7 years without fail.
It'll be interesting to see how that continues to expand and really mature, because that's kind of what all these will eventually do when they kind of stick around. And the availability of Coppa cocktails in the US, you mentioned you've got about 12 different flavors. Is it in every state yet, and price points that folks can see? Is it just you see one of these on the shelves, or are they in a package of sorts? What can folks expect to see out and about?
Yeah, on average, we're in 28 states right now, including some control states, which, as you know, are sometimes difficult to get into if they want proven concepts and so forth. I will tell you a really big success story with the control states. We launched in Michigan, which is the largest control state in the country, and the partners there were able to get the brand into over 2,000 off-premise accounts year to date. And we started this sometime in March. So they've done really a fantastic job. Other states are South Carolina, we are in Ohio, we are in Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire. Vermont just ordered. Most of these states started with 4 flavors, like control states. Now we have up to 8 or 9 flavors in many of these control states. They saw the acceptance by the consumer, and they immediately jumped on it and ordered the additional flavors. In the open states, we're in some of the larger markets. We're in California, we're in Texas, we're in Louisiana, we're in New York, we're in New Jersey, we're in Massachusetts. So we have a pretty good base of accounts, and we're in the process of really establishing our marketing plans and our sales plans for 2023 already. We're in the middle of August, but you got to start early. And we hope to be in about 40 states by the second quarter of next year, which would be great.
Well, that's awesome to hear. And for those that are in a controlled state, if it's there and you don't see a flavor, ask for it. And maybe that might get them a little more apt to put it on the shelves. And obviously, you mentioned you're looking forward to 2023, big things there to continue to expand. What's next for y'all? Is it just that expansion, that getting established in the U.S., since it is still relatively new in a growing market of ready to drink cocktails?
There's so much work to build a brand in general in any market, but in the US even more so. So we're continuing to expand and build out our distribution. Ideally, we'd love to be in about 25 to 30,000 accounts within these 40 markets. It doesn't seem like much, but let me tell you, to get to 25,000 accounts, it's a lot of shoe leather and a lot of programming and a lot of sweat to get there. But we feel that with the product that we have, the investments that we're making in the consumer, so we see it as being a very positive year in 2023. Right now, we're still largely on the push side of the brand development, but we're starting to introduce the pull side, meaning the consumer pull, establishing the marketing strategies of communication, for instance. So how are we combining those two? We're doing a lot of in-store tastings to get liquid to lips, get those consumers aware of our quality, the exceptional quality really that Coppa brings, because the natural flavor really comes across, and consumers who have tried other RTDs that are not using natural flavors, you can spot the difference immediately. So now we have developed a plan and process of putting all the nuances into the plan, where we're going to largely focus on events and partnerships to try to elevate our overall awareness and trial and accentuate the brand image more and more. And we're going to amplify that through PR channels so that every consumer has a chance to learn about Coppa Cocktails and discover the brand.
Well, I can tell you just from the looks of everything, I didn't get to try it just yet due to just the timing of life, but I am excited to try it because, like I said, the bottle's got some heft. I love the 15% because, like I said, that is not always common here with a lot of these. And I'm excited to see what's next from y'all. CoppaCocktails.com. And Jose, this was a pleasure, and I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Jonathan. It was my pleasure to be with you and your listeners, and I wish you much continued success in your podcast world.
I appreciate that.